Denver Summit just made one of the best teams in the NWSL look scared, and they didn't score a single goal doing it. Welcome back to the 5280 pitch, women's soccer at altitude. I'm Kate Hansen. Okay, so Saturday happened. Denver Summit FC, Seattle Reign at One Spokane Stadium. 0 goals. And I want to tell you something. I walked away from that match a little frustrated at first, but as the night went on and I woke up the next morning, I actually felt genuinely good about what happened and what we saw from this team. This team is actually built correctly sort of way. And that's what we're going to do today, because now that we've got 5 games under our belts and a 2.5 week break before San Diego comes to town on April 25th, this is the moment to take a real look at what we have. Not just what happened on Saturday, the whole picture. We're going to be breaking down this Seattle game tactically, how Denver neutralized one of the better attacks in this league. We're going to go through all 5 games from this inaugural season so far, and we're going to have an honest conversation about Ally Brazier, because she's from the spring. She was the first signing for the Summit, and she's been on the bench. You're noticing it. I'm noticing it. So we need to talk about it. So let's talk about Saturday. Seattle Reign, they're not playing at Lumen Field right now. And if any of you watched my live pregame show at DNVR, I talked about this a lot in the pregame show. A quick side note, thank you to everyone who came down for the watch party at DNVR. Thank you to DNVR for letting me come down and do that live pregame show. It was a ton of fun. I'd love to do it again in the future. And we had a couple people from the 14ers on. We had my daughters on. It was a great experience. I'd love to do it again. And I talked about it in the live pregame show about what we could expect to see from this Seattle Reign team. So they're still playing in Spokane. This was their 3rd and final game at Spokane, because Lumen is being prepared for the FIFA Men's World Cup this summer. So the Reign have essentially been a road team at home, kind of like what the Denver Summit are going to be doing for beginning of our season here. But they've been playing at that Spokane One stadium, and 3,950 fans were in the building on Saturday night. It's a whole lot less than our 63K that we had here at Empower Field, but it was a surprisingly quiet environment for a team that is used to real crowd noise and supporters. And going in, Laura Harvey's group was clicking. They had Jess Fishlock pulling strings in the midfield, and if you don't know that name, look her up. She's one of the best players in this league, and she has been in the league for 14 plus years, all with the Seattle Reign, which I think is pretty darn cool. But this was not a soft opponent. Denver's record going in was 1 win, 1 loss, and 2 draws. They were coming off that huge home opener against Washington, and now they're walking into another team's building. Nick Cushing sends out a 4-3-3, Abby Smith in goal, Pickett-Kurtz, Reed, and Saunis across the back. Meehan, Flint, and Lynch at the midfield, and up top, Ryan on the left, Kussler in the center, and Una on the right. Remember that front 3, because we're going to come back to it. So here's what I want you to understand about this team before we go any further. They have allowed 3 goals in 5 games. 3. Against Bay FC, the Orlando Pride, the reigning champions Gotham, the Washington Spirit, and then they have to go and face Seattle Reign. All they've allowed so far this season is 3 goals. That's pretty awesome. They're tied with San Diego Wave for the fewest goals conceded in the entire NWSL right now. For an expansion team in year 1, that is not luck. That is a system, and Saturday showed exactly how that system works. It starts with our back 4. Carson Pickett and Pickett-Kurtz as those center backs. I want to talk about Kurtz specifically because I don't think that she's getting enough credit in these conversations. Going through the match coverage from Seattle carefully, There is a moment in the first half where Maddie Mercado gets a look at goal, and Kurtz, she read the shot perfectly. She takes away the back post angle, gets her feet planted. This woman is not just athletic. She has phenomenal positioning, and that is hours of work on the training field that turn into instinct in a real game. And Pickett alongside her, two-time NWSL Best 11, 6 teams in this league. She's been around for a while. She has seen everything, and she is very steady. She is a voice back there, and that partnership looks more established than 5 games together really should allow. Out wide, Megan Reed and Janine Sonis. And Sonis, we have to talk about Sonis. She is the captain from Highlands Ranch, and she was absolutely everywhere on Saturday. 90 touches. Yes, you heard that right. 90. She nearly scored twice, clipped the crossbar early, and had a header in the 72nd minute that went straight at Dickey. She was creating chaos from the left back. And here's the tactical piece that I find fascinating. Sonis functions like a second midfielder when Denver has possession. She pushes real high. She creates overloads on Seattle's right side. She makes them make decisions that they don't want to make. And then, super important, she gets back. She recovers. That discipline is what makes it work. You can only play aggressively from a defensive position if your center backs are solid enough that you trust leaving all that space behind you. Pickett and Kurtz give her that trust. And then there's Abby Smith. I know I feel like I've been talking about her every episode, but I'm going to talk about her again because she made 3 really big saves on Saturday, and one of them is going to live in my head for a while. Mercado gets clean in on goal in the first half, fires in the lower left corner, and Smith kick saves it. Her body just does it, below the level of conscious thought. That is a goalkeeper operating on an elite level. Her goals against average is 0.6. The only keeper ahead of her right now is Leah Freeman of San Diego, who has played 1 fewer game. And the NWSL named Smith to the best 11 for the month of March. A first-year expansion team goalkeeper on the league's monthly best 11. That is incredible. But here is what I want to say about Smith that goes beyond just her many highlights. She's not just making saves in isolation. She is making the saves that Denver's defensive shape set her up to make. The structure in front of her is compact and organized, and truly dangerous chances are rare because of how the team defends as a unit. When Smith does have to act, it's from a position that's been somewhat contained already. That's not an accident. It is a system working. The midfield did its part on Saturday too. Sheehan, Flint, and Lynch were tasked with disrupting Seattle's build-up play. Seattle wanted to find Fishlock on the turn and wanted to run at Denver with pace on the counter, and Denver's midfield mostly said no. Una specifically, and she's listed as a midfielder, but she's been playing right forward in this 4-3-3, which, again, we will get to. The broadcast noted her movement pulling Seattle's shape wide, creating options, baiting the defense into decisions. That is intelligent soccer from a 21-year-old. That's not just running around and hoping to find space or hoping something happens. The result from all this, Denver won the statistical battle on Saturday. 53% possession, more shots than Seattle, 18 attempts, the most they've had in any game this season. They were the more active team in the second half by a significant margin. They just couldn't put it in the back of the net. And that is the honest thing we have to keep naming, because Seattle's goalkeeper, the U.S. Women's National Team keeper, Claudia Dickey, who just set the Reign's all-time saves record, passing Hope Solo with 190 career saves. Dickey was excellent, but Denver also missed chances that they should have converted. Kussler from a few yards out in the 29th, Pickett's best opportunity in the 67th, Sonis' header in the 72nd going straight into Dickey's hands. And Nick Cushing said it after the game. They need to create bigger chances and be more ruthless. And Megan Reed, she said it even more directly. Teams with good structures make it harder. She'll give Seattle that, but it shouldn't have stopped them from putting at least one in the back of the net. This team knows what the problem is. I love how honest Reed was. And I want to talk about Ally Brazier for a minute. Because, look, the starting lineup card from Saturday, Ryan, Kussler, Una, across the front. And that was the same lineup that we've seen for the game against Washington and the Gotham game. On the bench, Brazier, Bosch, Thomas, Bode, Garcia, 5 attacking options, not getting onto the pitch. Look, Ally Brazier, Colorado Springs native, 29 years old, championships on her resume from Australia and the NWSL. She played 0 minutes on Saturday. And when you look at her game log for the season, the picture paints it pretty clear. Game 1 at Bay, she plays 63 minutes. That's a real run. She's clearly in the starting 11. Then 15 minutes Orlando, 22 minutes at Gotham, 6 minutes at the home opener at Washington. And then Saturday, nothing. The minutes have been shrinking steadily, game by game, until they disappeared entirely. And here's what I think is happening. And it's a tactical answer, not a character one. Una is listed as a midfielder, but she is playing right forward in Cushing's 4-3-3. She's playing Ally Brazier's position. They are competing for the same spot on the pitch. And Cushing has clearly decided that right now in this system, Una gives him something specific, the dynamic running, the ability to pull Seattle's defensive shape wide, then drive centrally. The broadcast specifically noted that movement, Una peeling out, creating an option, baiting the defense. That is a very particular tactical function, and Una is doing it well. She's 21 years old, and she's holding her own in an NWSL starting lineup. Does that mean that Brazier's done? I don't think so. The season is long. We're just getting started. Rotation becomes necessary. Kussler cannot play every single minute, and when Lindsay Heaps arrives in June, the shape of this team's midfield may look different entirely. There may be a role that fits Brazier better then, but right now, in April, in this specific 4-3-3, Una is winning that battle. What I will say is this, and I feel strongly about it, Cushing should find Brazier real minutes, not 6 minutes at the end of a 0-0 game. She's a professional soccer player with a legitimate resume. When you are chasing a goal in the second half of a tight game, 0 minutes for a forward with her experience is very hard to explain. I don't have every piece of information. There may be things happening in training that I'm not aware of, but the tactical picture explains the bench role. The 0 minutes in Spokane is a harder call to understand. So let's go back to the beginning because we have a little bit of a break now because of national team play. We have 5 goals under our belt. Game 1, March 14th, at Bay, we lost 1-2. This is the very first game in club's history, road game in California against a team in its 3rd year. Denver scored first, the first goal in Denver Summit FC history, and then Bay found 2. But they competed, especially for a team that only had 10 players for the majority of the match. They didn't look like a team that didn't belong. They looked like a team that was figuring things out, which is exactly what they were. If there's a brand new team or a team it's the first game of the season, it is okay for them to look the way that they looked. Abby Smith has been a beast since that first game. Game 2 against Orlando, that was a draw 1-1. They're the 2024 reigning champs. Barbara Banda, one of the most dangerous forwards on the planet. Denver goes to Florida and draws. I keep coming back to this result because I think it is genuinely underrated in how we talk about the early season. That is a real point against a very legitimate team. Game 3, March 25th at Gotham, the reigning 2025 NWSL champs. They win 2-0. That's the first win for this team, and I want to be clear about what Gotham is. They won this entire league in 2023 and in 2025. Denver goes to New Jersey and wins 2-0. Clean sheet, 3 points. That result is the one I'll point to in August when someone asks me if this Denver Summit team belongs. The answer is yes. They went to Gotham and won. That's your answer. Game 4, March 28th, home versus Washington Spirit, Trinity Rodman, draw 0-0. This is a complicated one, and I'm going to be honest about it. In Power Field at Mile High, 63,000 fans, the home opener, one of the largest crowds in the history of women's soccer for this country. The atmosphere was incredible, and we scored 0 goals. Washington is not an elite team right now. They're organized, they're fine, but they're not Orlando. They're not Gotham. They're not San Diego. And with that crowd at altitude in that moment, with all those people who showed up for the first time, I really feel like we needed to win that game. And that is a result that should stick with this team during the break. Not because a draw is a disaster by any means. We still got the point. But because it pointed directly at the problem that has followed us through all 5 of our games. Finishing. Game 5, April 4th, Seattle Reign, draw 0-0. And I just broke it down. Road game, most competitive performance of the season, 18 shots. We dominated the second half. It was a hard-earned draw. So where does that leave us going forward? We have 1 win, one loss, and 3 draws, 6 points. And here's what the table actually looks like right now. Denver is at 6 points through 5 games, same as Washington and Kansas City. Utah Royals are ahead of us with 7. The league is genuinely tight, but Denver is right in it. The defensive numbers are remarkable. 3 goals allowed, tied for the best in the league. Tackle success rate of 58%. Efficient, not frantic, defending from a structure. Abby Smith, 23 saves, 0.6 goals against average. She is crushing it in this league right now. The offensive numbers tell a very different story. 4 goals in 5 games, 35 shots, 13 on target. That 37% shots on target rate is the thing that has to improve. They are getting into positions. They're generating looks. The final touch, the composure in the moment, the ruthlessness in front of goal, that is what these 3 weeks off need to address. Because we don't play again until April 25th. San Diego Wave, Dick's Sporting Goods Park. San Diego is first in the league right now. They lead the league in total passes, 2,580, which tells you everything you need to know about how they play. They are patient, they possess, they make you work. Silva leads the league in assists. Leah Friedman in goal has the best GAA in the entire league at 0.5. This is going to test Denver in a completely different way than Seattle did. Seattle wanted to hit off the counter, find moments of individual quality. San Diego is going to try to suffocate you with possession and make your defensive shape hold for 90 minutes. And if Denver's attack doesn't show up, if we're still generating good volume and 0 goals at home against the league leader, then we have a different type of conversation to have. 3 weeks, get healthy, work on finishing, figure out what this attack looks like when it's clicking, and then go prove it at home. So that is your 5-game retrospective. That's your Seattle breakdown. Here's where I land on all of it. Denver Summit is a real team. They have a defensive identity that is genuinely elite for year 1. They have a goalkeeper who belongs in any best 11 conversation for this league. They have a captain in Janine Sonis who would make highlights on any roster in the NWSL. They have a coaching staff that clearly knows how to build defensive structure and install it fast. The attacking piece is the work. Cussler was our secret weapon for the first 3 games, and she's not so secret anymore. I had Jordan Angeli on last week, and she said it perfectly. She said she's not so secret anymore. People know how she plays and how to shut her down. They're figuring her out very, very quickly. Those 4 goals, 3 of them came from Cussler, 1 from Tosh Flint. That's it. but it's only April. We have some time off to recalibrate, find how to click. Cushing has won major trophies. He knows what this team needs, and the schedule ahead will tell us a lot about whether this group can find it. And here's what gives me optimism from the attacking side. Even with the numbers being what they are, look at the volume. 18 shots against Seattle. That is the most Denver has attempted in any game this season. The chances are coming. The movement is improving. Una is creating mismatches. Saunas is getting forward and making things happen from left back. Ryan, she is dangerous every time she gets the ball into space. The ingredients are there. The problem isn't that Denver can't create. The problem is the final moment. The decision in the box, the composure when a chance arrives, and that is genuinely the hardest thing to coach. But it's also the thing that improves most with repetition, with familiarity, with players learning from each other's runs well enough that when Kussler checks away from her defender, Ryan already knows where she's going. That chemistry, it takes time. This team has had 5 games together. 5. I think we sometimes forget how new this all is. These players have been together since preseason, yes, but there is a difference between preseason reps and real competitive matches where every decision has consequences. The trust that turns a good attack into a dangerous one, the kind where a forward makes a run before the ball is even played because she just knows, that's built over months, not weeks. Denver is still in the early stages of building that. Kussler is carrying a lot right now. She is the focal point of this attack every single game. Defenses know it. They are scheming for her specifically. She still found a chance Saturday from just a few yards out that Dickey got to. She hit the crossbar in an earlier game. The quality is there, but she needs someone to help take some of that defensive attention away from her. She needs a second option that forces defenders to make a real choice. Do you worry about Kussler or do you worry about the run in behind? That second option hasn't fully emerged yet. Could it be Tosh Flint? Maybe. Will it be Lindsay Heaps when she arrives? Ryan has moments, real ones. She is dangerous when she gets into space, and she has shown the ability to manufacture something from nothing, which is exactly what Cushing brought her in here to do. But consistency, it's still coming. When Heaps gets here, I do think that things are going to change in the midfield dramatically. Because Heaps controls the tempo. She finds pockets. She makes the players around her better. When she walks into that building, the attack gets a completely different engine. But that's not until July. Right now it's April, and Denver has 3 weeks before San Diego comes to Dick's Sporting Goods Park. 3 weeks of uninterrupted training time, no travel, no match prep, no recovery cycles, eating into the week, just work. And if Cushing, who has a reputation, he does, that he built at Manchester City and everything we've seen defensively so far, he is going to use every day of this break to address exactly what we've been talking about, the finishing, the composure, the final third decision-making that turns 18 shots into 2 goals instead of 0. But the defense, that's done. That is established. 3 goals allowed in 5 games does not happen by accident and is not going to fall apart. Abby Smith is not going to suddenly start letting in soft goals. Pickett and Kurtz are not going to lose the organization that they've built. That's part of this team that's real, and it's not going anywhere. The attack just has to catch up, and I genuinely believe that it will. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the 5280 Pitch. I'll be back plenty of times before the San Diego match. Make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast because I do have some more fun player interviews coming up over this break between now and the April 25th game against the Wave. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. Spotify, Apple, Podchaser, YouTube, all of it. If you haven't, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, head over to 5280pitch.com and get on it. You get match previews, stat breakdowns, everything in between the episodes. And then find me on Instagram at 5280pitch. That's where I hang out. I am on Threads now, which has been fun to play around with. So if you're on Threads, follow me over on Threads. And this is a final reminder, if you're on the newsletter, you do get discounts for the merch. So sign up for the newsletter, check out the merch, all the things. We have 1 win, 1 loss, 3 draws, 5 games, a lot of season left. I'm Kate Hansen. This has been the 5280 Pitch, Women's Soccer at Altitude. I'll see you next time.